Welcome to Porsche Patter with Bracken Helms, the show where we hear Bracken and his distinguished guests from the Porsche community patter on about Porsches and all things automotive. Porsche Patter is sponsored by Circuit 64. Circuit 64 creates authentic automotive apparel made for like-minded automotive enthusiasts. The links for Circuit 64 are in the show notes. Okay, let's get to it.
Tony Callas, Part 7. This is 7 of 7, so this is the last one. Although I have talked to Tony since, and there might possibly be more in the future because we got good feedback and we thought it might be a good idea. I think it went well. I think these interviews have been really good. So hopefully we can do some more in the future. When he says in this last one, the one you're going to hear now, that we've been trying to do this for 7 years, when he first said that to me, I was like, is he out of his mind? But it has been, I bet it's been about 6 years, because we talk about how he approached me. And if I look at the date on that, that was Luft de Colt at Universal Studios. So that was May of 2019. And that was after I had already approached him at the Phoenix Club. Phoenix Club. I don't think it was the Phoenix Club that I approached him at just 2 months or 2.5 months earlier. I think it was the year prior. So that would have been Phoenix Club 2018. Then we're looking close to 6 years by the time we finally met. So I guess it's not that far off. It doesn't seem like it was that long. I mean, I'm not like an investigative journalist trying to break people's balls. So I want this to be fun. So I wasn't putting pressure on him. In fact, I didn't like call him or text him. It was just kind of when I saw him at shows, I would send him emails occasionally. I remember I sent him one email and he's like, I'm in Europe. I'll be here for like another 4 or 5 months. Which I'm glad that we kind of took our time to do it, because originally when I approached him, it was just going to be a transcribe that I was going to send to like a magazine or something or a publication. So I'm glad that we waited till it was actual podcast. So, I mean, how much better is it to hear the tone in their voice rather than just read it in a... Plus, the interviews I was doing for when I was like sending them to publications, they would chop them all up. Oh, this will be too many pages. I mean, look how many episodes we've done. This is 7, and each one's around 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. If that was written, they would have just chopped it all up, and you wouldn't have got the full picture. So anyway, here is part 7 of Tony Callas. What do you think the reason is that people are becoming so much more knowledgeable? Is it because of stuff like Rennsport Reunion? But I mean, because not even that long ago, it seemed like when I used to drop things like 911R, people were like, what are you talking about?
Clueless.
Do you mean the 73 RS? That was 73. I'm like, no, like 67, there was a 911R, and they didn't know. And I remember when I first started my company, they would say, well, where do you get the 6.4 from? And I have like 10 reasons why I pick 6.4. But one of them that I give is I say type 6.4. And no one had any idea what I was talking about.
The original car.
Yeah.
One of the Paris Rhone car.
And you say that now.
Bit.
So yeah, the type 6.4. So I would say that, and I would try to describe what it was. Well, it's not really a Porsche, but it's kind of their beginning. And so that was one of the reasons, among other reasons. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, I think more people know, but like,
and before that auction, when that car came out and went to auction, and they had to screw up between if it was 16 million or 60 million, and it was crazy. But okay, to answer your question, and I've thought a lot about this because there has been kind of so to answer your question, basically what I'm noticing is with the internet now, and it works good and it works backwards also, where people are getting a lot of misinformation. Being an instructor and a knowledgeable person on Porsches, I can find pretty much on every search something wrong. And it bothers me that there's so much misinformation. And a lot of these places where people go for technical information, they're just getting a lot of wrong information also. And it's not cool, but you know what, it is what it is. So this awakening, basically, I think people are on the internet a lot and they're searching for information and they're finding things and they think they know. And, you know, a lot of them are parrots. They're parrots where they can repeat information. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
They hear something and they repeat it. and they don't even know what they're saying. And if I ever call people out on things, they can't tell me why, but they just know that for somehow.
Yeah, it seems to be like, and it's like this with everything, whether it's politics or not, it seems to be like the most ignorant people are the loudest. And so like, I've been around Porsches all my life, and I seem to be like, I gotta just stay and like, I'll give my piece occasionally. Like when we're sitting down like this, I feel pretty comfortable. Like I'll ask you questions and I'll run my mouth a little bit, but I look at these people that have been like into Porsche for like 2 years, and it's like, oh, well, I had a Macan and then I bought this, and now these are the type of people that are like, they want to go on the forum every day. They want to be on the Facebook page, and they always want to comment. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're knowledgeable because you've just forced it all into your head in the last 2 years. But like the grand scheme of things, you've got a lot of errors in what you're saying.
Oh, there's so much misinformation, and it can be picked up in little details here and there. You can tell when somebody's a forumite and what they do when they pick it up on that. And I just try to be nice and correct them where I can, respectfully.
Those cars in your middle bay that are like, are they
waiting for work?
Are they totally like restored cars? Because I was looking at those and like, they're not exactly well taken care of.
You know, a lot of cars aren't. A lot of cars that people bring in, we can't, I guess we could say, no, we don't want to work on that. But you're saying they just are worn, they're used? Yeah, a lot of cars are. And we've been here 31 years, and people enjoy these cars. They drive them. And I like working on those cars also, the ones that people drive daily.
The paint's peeling and you don't care because everything mechanically about the car is
right.
Yeah.
Well, again, the patina, it's been kind of the... what do they call those, survivors or whatnot? But these truly are. These people love these cars and they drive them. And I've known them 30 years.
Okay, do you consider yourself artistic? And
when I'm working on an engine, when I'm working on a mechanical item, I do.
And I don't really remember why I wrote this question because we've been at this for a while trying to get... So there was obviously a reason why I asked that.
We've been trying to do this, I think, for over 7 years.
I had approached you, like you said, at the Phoenix Club, the swap meet. And I remember you came up to me. We were at Luftgekühlt.
Luftgekühlt, that's when it was at Universal Studios.
Yeah, and you'd walked up to me. So whenever that was before 2020 for sure. I'd have to figure that out. Anyway, embarrassing moment.
There are things that are embarrassing for some people. For me, it could be lack of education, the way I speak, whatever. Or it could be an oil line breaking on a race car in pit lane, or really in the paddock right there, going into pit lane. Those kind of things are pretty rough, right? But I grew up, as painfully shy as I was, pretty much being embarrassed about the smallest things, like taking a pie that my mom made, and she says, take this to our neighbor and tell him it's made from scratch. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was trash. I didn't know what scratch was. I thought she dug it out of the trash. So embarrassing, something like an oil line breaking in paddock right before the car goes on pit lane, or an engine blowing up at Daytona.
If you could be a fly on the wall, where would you go?
I'd like to be around Valentin Schaefer or Mezger when they're designing this flat six motor and understanding what their logic was. When you have to realize we're used to it. We've seen it for years. When they were designing this, it didn't exist. And I know how much Valentin Schaefer was involved in designing this engine. Everybody gives Mezger the credit, but Valentin is really a very heavy influence. Just think about what they were saying. You can pick Tesla, you can pick different people, Scott Fitzgerald, etc., and any president. But to me, to listen to Mezger and Valentin on what they're doing and why they came up with the rocker system off the cams and everything, I think about that quite a bit.
If you could go back in time, what time period would you go to?
I've thought a lot about this also. I watched one of my favorite movies the other night, Midnight in Paris. And there's a lot about that when he goes back in time and he meets various artists and Man Ray, etc., Picasso. As I said in the very beginning of this, I don't look back, and I'm very happy with what's gone on, even though it's been very harsh for me in my life at times. I'm happy with where I'm at. And honestly, probably if I had to answer that, the 60s to be in racing, maybe the 50s, because it seemed like those were really the times. But every time you talk to somebody, they're like, when you raced, it was really the time to race. And I don't know, probably the 50s, other than, with certain groups have gone through, the Jewish people or the black people, I really wouldn't want to go through those things. So that would kind of veto what I'm saying. But I really love the stock car racing and what they experienced and how they got to go racing when things were more free.
If you could have one wish, what would it be?
It has something to do with inner reflection, but I can't really put it into words right now.
This might be redundant. If you could have a redo in life, what would it be?
I don't.
If you could change anything about yourself, what would it be?
That's another one of those, if I look back and if I could change anything. But if I said, hey, I'd really love to have more self-confidence, well, I wouldn't be who I am.
Right.
So I think anything that you want to change would change for who you are. I think who we are is beautiful and wonderful. I don't want to sound like a flower child, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, everything that I've accomplished and what I've done. And I like myself. I actually really like who I am. So I think we're okay there.
What is your biggest fear?
I grew up with a mother as a war baby, as a war child. My mother taught me a lot about the war and how bad people were. And it would probably be saying to be involved in war. This is deep stuff. I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
What is your prized possession?
Probably my relationship with my girlfriend.
What is the hardest thing you feel like you've done or accomplished?
And with other people I'm with. The hardest thing is keeping a business going for 31 years and getting to the racing where we're at. And I don't know, I've had so many interesting relationships with people and their cars. And I used to not be this patient and this nice and this kind. The biggest accomplishment is probably just getting to 61.
Yeah.
Not the answer everybody wants to hear, I bet.
What song would you love to play on a drive or while driving your car?
I'll keep it quick. I'm a big Bob Seger fan, so I love a lot of his stuff about being on the road.
Best drive you've ever had?
Alone. Probably an early 911. Lightweight clutch, lightweight car, nimble. There's a road over here that I love in Palos Verdes. Palos Verdes has a lot of neat roads, and you can pick Tail of the Dragon, you can pick a lot of other places that are beautiful, but Palos Verdes Drive East, neat place.
Okay.
But I cycle this road a lot also, and I know the road quite well.
You're a cyclist?
Yeah. Well, I'm heavier than I used to be, but I'm shipping my Colnago to Florida to ride it more often.
Fastest you've ever driven where? What car? Why?
Fastest started out when I was riding with my dad, and we went to the Texas World Speedway, and it was an earlier 911 he had built into a semi-race car, and I think it was like 160 or 70 miles an hour. I could do nothing more than pay attention to all the cracks in the surface, and this track, this oval, was really, it's really a steep angle, and for me at the time. Let me see, I've driven the GT1 a few times, but the fastest, and one of the things I've enjoyed the most other than that early 911 was my motorcycle. I had a BMW RT that I would go pretty constant. And, it's not about the fastest. It's about the longest stretch you went, like 120 in the Arizona desert or somewhere, and just enjoying the ride, worrying about a bunny rabbit or something coming across the road. But
do you feel like you're a pretty good driver?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about your driving.
I do.
If you're driving some of these difficult cars to drive, you got to kind of know what you're doing.
You hope.
What gets you excited? I mean, I ask this because like a lot of these are like car questions. And so like, not
what gets me
everybody's
excited. A beautiful woman, a beautiful Porsche that sounds neat with the early 911 exhaust sound.
So
reading a good book. But yeah, I love cycling. I love listening to the sprocket. I love listening to the bike when I'm pedaling. I like being alone, just listening to everything as I'm riding it. That's my dream. I started in 85 here in the shop when a guy named Marcel Calborn, who came up with Cella Europa bicycles in Manhattan Beach. He had a bike shop, and the Olympic bikes, Italian guy, really full of himself. I really enjoy shooting, and I find that it's not the perfection, but I love the operation of the weapon, just like in the car and the bicycle. And I call it the GT3 feel, because to me, that is probably the ultimate 911, where you feel the rifle and how it really shoots and how it performs. And you feel the bicycle and how it feels. I just loaded my Colnago this morning up into the vehicle and to get it shipped. And I can't believe how nimble and lightweight it is. You can say that about a snowboard. You can say that about certain things, a microphone, a watch. But I see the mechanical craftsmanship in almost everything. If we still have that now, but
like shooting clay pigeons or like going to the
no long distance shooting.
Okay,
you know, an AR to me is and that doesn't, we all know, doesn't stand for assault rifle. The Armalite, to me, something that feels and shoots the way that does. It's such a dangerous subject now to talk about, so I kind of leave it out. But I find how fine these things are built and how each one operates, just like the bicycle. And when I wear a watch that I love, I feel that also. I look at it and I look at how it was designed. So, you know, because in this world we're going away from that stuff.
Right. So we went over this a little bit, but mentors.
Got to stick with Don and Harold in the bug shop, Don and Harold Car, and Adrian Gang. Those are the main ones. But then you go into business and there's people like Mike Harmon or whoever, you know, things like that. So
who's the most exciting person you have ever met?
You know what? I'm not really taken back by people. There's been a lot of entertainers come in. Probably Valentin Schaefer was one of them. Drivers, not necessarily. I worked with Hans Stuck and Bob Wallach. Pretty interesting, right? Pretty impressive. But it really came down to people that really have mechanical talent, like Valentin, and the crew chief at Porsche, Rolf Huber, and Gerd Schmid, people like that.
Okay. What is something most people don't know about you that would surprise people?
Maybe Malcolm Gladwell. And the next one is probably being an introvert, because I speak so much at events. People don't expect that, but I enjoy being alone.
What question would you ask yourself? It's kind of a weird question.
No, it's not a weird question, but I'd have to think about that a little bit. So many people ask me the questions like, what's your favorite Porsche and which car would you want to own and this and that. But I don't know, maybe it'd come down to, you know, what have you learned in life, or what do you get out of your hobbies or whatever? I don't know, things like that, but don't ask me to answer those.
Well, that's all the questions I have. I mean, I would love to pick your brain on your spiritual stuff, but I don't have those questions. I'm not trying to ask those questions. I'm just like, that would be interesting to me.
We're going to have a part 2 then.
Okay.
Hey, I've really enjoyed this, and thank you for staying after me.
No problem.
And I hope that it's enlightening for somebody and they get something out of it. So thank you for doing this.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, comment, like, and share with your friends. Feel free to send questions or suggestions to the email in the description of the show. Special thanks to our sponsor, Circuit 64. Goodbye for now. We hope we can get together again for our next episode. Now get out there and enjoy the cars and the people.